Hello, my name is Akshay and I have secured All India rank 43 this year, and this was my first attempt, and today I'll be talking about my preparation strategy. And one important message that I'm going to leave here today is that self-assessment is the only key to succeed in this exam. Why do I say that that self-assessment is the only key? The reason is that all of you all of us know that this exam has lakhs of applicants. So nearly 0.5 million people apply for this exam every year. And then, so this exam becomes very competitive. So what happens is, it becomes so competitive that you cannot really compete with other people in this. What you have to do basically is you have to compete with yourself all the time. And if I have to say that what mantra I followed is that I always competed only with myself. And of course you have to look around, I mean what is happening, how are others doing, but don't get bogged down by how much marks others are getting in the test series, or where you are placed. Even if you do that, take them positively, very positively. The reason being, as I said, there are lakhs of applicants in this exam. So what happens is, you cannot really compete with everyone. You can only compete with yourself and become a better version of you every other day. So I always believe in one of the sayings that is there in the Bhagavad Gita, which says Uddharet Atmana, which means you have to rise yourself. So you have to help yourself to rise. And I believe if you strictly believe in this philosophy that only you can help yourself, and for that you need to do your own self-assessment, compete with yourself, I think success belongs to you. And yeah, so let me start with how I did my preparation for the different stages of this exam and how self-assessment helped me along the way. So as we all know that this exam is a 3-stage procedure. So the first stage is the prelims, which right here. The second one is the mains, written part, and the third one is also main, which is personality test. Okay, so now let me share my strategy about how I went along, for these 3 different stages. I started studying for this exam from August 2017, and almost a year of preparation I gave in to do this. And I started my preparation with my optional subject, which was economics. And I started reading books. In the first reading, I just made sure that I understand everything, all the concepts. In the second reading, I tried to go even deeper, and then I started making my notes. So as I told you, I started my preparation in August 2017, and up to January 2018, I was more focused on my optionals plus general books reading. By general books, I mean the basic books that we read, that is NCRTs and other books, Lakshmikant and all these books. So I made sure that till January 2018, I was thoroughly prepared with my optional subject. Also, all my notes were ready, and general books like NCRTs and everything. What I used to do along the way is that I also used to self-assess myself as to how much am I understanding what I am reading, right? Because you can read, you can just go on reading, but when you read, you realize that first time you read, you understand some part of it. The second time you read, you will understand some more. So this happens in every reading, and you have to continuously keep on assessing yourself so that you know where you are lacking. Okay, so along the way in this time, what I used to do is I also used to look at some questions coming from different parts of the syllabus. Like for example, if I am reading history, So I used to see previous year's question papers. Like, if I'm reading some part of history, like what questions have come, or say polity, what questions are coming from, say, Panchayati Raj, this particular topic. And I used to see whether am I able to answer the questions at that very point of time. I used to not, make it wait till, I am starting the test series or anything. Do your self-assessment, when you are actually preparing it, and don't be bogged down by, where you are standing or how others are doing. Because what happens is there is always a fear. I mean, even I had that fear. And the fear was that, oh, if I assess myself, if I do questions, and if I am not able to do it, then I may get demotivated. Okay, and then I may just leave all my preparation. But don't do it. Take it positively. If you are not able to answer some question, that only means that there is some loophole in your preparation, right? So getting feedback, doing self-assessment only helps you in understanding where you are lagging, because that is not going to make or break you, right? So what you have to do is continuously solve questions, see questions. If you are, and I can tell you one thing, see what happens is, if you do a question right, then you get very happy. Oh, but believe me, that may be a lucky shot for that instance, that you got that question right. But if you get a question wrong, I think that is even more beneficial, because when the same question appears in some other form, you know what was the right answer and you realize your mistake, and the next time you don't do it. And that is what we have to actually do. After all, why do we solve so many test series, and why do we look at so many question papers? To know where we are standing, and so that if the question repeats, we won't make the same mistakes again. So I would say that see questions and see your loopholes in preparation. The loopholes in your preparation. You have to look at all this, and with this you make a feedback to your preparation again and refine yourself. I am sure you will be a better version of yourself the next time you read the same subject. And that is what you have to do for all this time. So this was my journey from August 2017 to January 2018. In February 2018, I came back to India, and then that month was my sister's wedding, so I could not really study. But then I started reading again from March 2018, and my exam was in June. So I had this 3 months in between, March, April and May. In this period, I completely focused on prelims, okay, like completely prelim focused preparation in this. So by this what I mean is, so along the way I was reading for both mains and prelims. You can't really segregate the two preparation, because more or less things are same, books are same, concepts are same. Only thing is they are assessing different things in different stages of this exam. In preliminary exam, basically they are seeing how much is the scope of your awareness. So whether how much you know about different things. In mains, they look at the depth of your analysis as to how deeply you have understood the question. So here they are actually testing the scope, and here they are testing the depth of the same thing. So along the way, when I was preparing for both mains and prelims, assessing myself for both mains as well as prelims, whether I am able to analyze things, whether I am able to expand the scope of my reading. So that I used to do. After March 2018, I mean from March 2018, what I did was I started focusing on prelims. By that I mean just revisions plus tests. So you can pick up any test series that is available in your place, or if you are living in Delhi, then you can get the benefit of living here by joining any test series. By doing this, by doing revisions as well as tests, what again you are doing is you are assessing yourself. Don't compete with others, because you have to clear the UPSC exam and not the tests that you are doing. So what happens is, most of the times with me, if I get say 90 in one test and my friend is getting say 110, so it is kind of, oh, I don't stand anywhere here in the crowd. But believe me, that is not so. You have to compete with yourself, bring this 90 to 95, and then, ultimately to 110 or even better. If you get bogged down by, I am just useless, I can't do anything, it is not going to help. So take this feedback positively and, just get the best out of you in every revision, in every round that you're doing. So this is what I did. Now in this, I'll tell you some specific things as to, some specific strategy of doing this, of self-assessment. First thing is assessment of your knowledge and conceptual understanding. So by that I mean self-assessment of your knowledge, and second thing is of the exam itself. Style of exam, I would rather say. So knowledge and analysis of the things in the syllabus, by that I mean you are doing a question and you see whether you are able to understand a given concept or is there any loophole. Say for example in the chapter of Supreme Court, you are not really able to understand as to who is eligible to get appointed as a judge of a Supreme Court. This is a simple concept. But many a times what happens is we don't really understand the meaning of the distinguished jurist, that word that is there in the book. So you need to really, be very clear about it, the different concepts. This is just one example. But what I am saying is you need to assess whether you have the right knowledge, right? And the second thing is you also need to assess whether you are doing your preparation in the style of this examination. By the style of this examination, I mean, I already told that UPSC exam is testing different things in different stages. So in preliminary stage, you just see what they are testing. Okay, what is the style of this examination? And what kind of questions are they putting? If some question is coming from a particular topic, then in what way are they asking it, right? Each exam has its own pattern. If you give, say for example, CAT ka exam, it will have its own pattern, right? So UPSC also has its own style of asking questions. So that also you need to assess yourself. Now I'll give you a very simple example of this. Say for example, in science and technology, okay? So if there is a question, like I remember there was a question, I guess in 2017 as to some technology, okay? That this technology can be used in 1, 2, 3, 4, like these were the options. Usually what happens is in UPSC, I mean, I'm not saying it that this is a universal truth, please don't take it as it is, but this is my observation that for science and technology questions, UPSC, and if there is an application type of question for science and technology, then the answer will always be all of the above. Okay, so for example, if this technology can be used in what? So 1, 2, 3 and 4. And then they'll deliberately make, A option 1 only, 2 only, 2 and 3 like that. But mostly in these kind of questions, the answer is usually all of the above. And that I figured out by myself by doing this self-assessment, whether I am able to fit myself in the style of this examination. So that is one thing. And along the way of your preparation, you will get many kind of cheat codes like this. So this is just for a science and technology question. But there are cheat codes for other subjects also. And that, I mean, those are not really universal. That is not going to happen every time. But if you solve previous year's questions and also do the test series, so you will realize as to, what kind of questions are coming. And that is how you have to assess yourself. So this was about prelims. Then about the mains. How does self-assessment help in mains? So first of all, as I told you, in mains, what they are checking is the depth of your understanding of things. How much are you able to, really understand things, or how much are you able to analyze things, what is happening in the society, what is happening in the world, right? Now, in this, self-assessment helps you in understanding whether you are having any kind of biases in your mind, whether you are having any kind of wrong prejudices, whether you are having any kind of wrong notions in your mind. So I am using these 3 words here. So first is this self-assessment will help you in mains exam to understand if you have some prejudices, if you have some notions, if you have some experience. So we are all human beings, right? And what happens is when it comes to some particular topic which is related to the society, which is related to say international relations, what happens is either our prejudice, our preconceived notions or our past experiences, they influence your answer writing a lot. And that you can understand only when you assess yourself. I mean, some third person, a teacher or a friend cannot really tell you whether you are having this kind of prejudices or not. Only you can tell yourself whether you are biased, whether you are prejudiced, right? And that is where the self-assessment help you. How does it help? Now you have to understand if your answer is really, biased in one particular way. That may be because you have a experience in the past, right? Along the way, the 3 or 4 months that you have after prelims, you have to start changing your prejudices. You have to start changing your notions and broaden the horizon. So you have to just work on this and broaden your horizon. Broaden the horizon of your thinking, and that can come only with self-assessment. You have to see whether you are biased about any particular topic, whether you are biased about any issue in the society, whether you are biased about India-Pakistan relation, whether you are biased about Indo-China relations. So you have to remove the biases, because in civil services we need first of all a politically neutral person, secondly also a person who can really think about the maximum number of people or the entire society. So you can't really afford to be biased or prejudiced for this exam, and they are also testing that in this exam. So what you do is, first of all, do your self-assessment towards these things, whether you are biased about anything. See, knowledge and analysis, that comes, that everybody does, but where the difference comes is how biased your answer is or how unbiased your answer is, for that matter, right? So see how you can broaden the horizon and how you can become unbiased while writing this answer. Because after all, in the rush of those 3 hours, the 3-hour paper that we have in this, you have to write 20 questions, nearly 5,000 words, right? And I don't know if anybody of you may be knowing this. So there was a study by one of the American universities, and that study has pointed out that a human brain, a human mind can write 5,000 words in 3 hours without thinking. Okay, so somebody is dictating to you, you are not thinking anything, and you can maximum write, this is without thought. You are mechanically writing like a typewriter. So this was assessed by one of the universities. Now in this particular exam, in the mains exam, you have to answer 20 questions in nearly 5,000 words that you have to write in 3 hours, and you have to think, right? You cannot just, you look at the question and your hand will start moving, you will write something. That cannot happen. So there is a question, you have to start thinking about it, then you have to put pen on the paper, you have to write, you have to put your ideas, articulate them, and write in some manner. And science says, research says that a man, an average man, can write 5,000 words in 3 hours without thinking. But here you have to write 5,000 words in 3 hours with thinking, that too critical thinking. So many of the questions is like critically analyze, right? So you have to critically think, and that cannot happen in the rush of those 3 hours. Believe me, it doesn't happen. So whatever is natural to you, whatever the person you are, will be reflected in your answer in these 3 hours, because you have really no time to think, you have no time to fake it there. You cannot really fake. I mean, if you are given half an hour to write a 150 words question, of course you will think, oh, this is bias and all that. But in those 3 hours, when you have to answer 20 questions, the natural person within you will come out. So better you assess yourself beforehand, remove these and become a natural person that will be non-biased, right? So that is where the self-assessment helps you in the mains examination as well. Same thing, the same talk goes for the interview or the personality test round as well. So in the personality test, there are 5 people super seniors to you. You know, they are like maybe your parents, or maybe your elder uncles, or like that. And they are like, you may be 25, they may have 35 years of experience in public service. So you are really kids to them. And you, believe me, you can't fake it in front of them. Again, the same thing comes. You have some prejudices, you have some preconceived notions, you have some bad experiences. And when they ask you a particular difficult question, the real person within you will come out, and you will give a wrong answer, which is not suitable to that particular moment. And then, you will lose marks there. Better, you do your self-assessment. खुद से पूछो कि whether your answer is right, whether your answer is right for the society. Are you thinking of the maximum number of people? Are you thinking about the downtrodden people, or you are only thinking about some particular section of people? Are you thinking about the global peace? Are you thinking about India's security? So these kind of things we have to develop within ourselves. We have to become a person who thinks like that. It is not that you can fake it in the interview round as well. So that is where self-assessment comes very, very important. And in all the 3 rounds, the basic key is self-assessment. Continuously assess yourself, compete with yourself, refine yourself. So it's like a gold. So gold doesn't have to really prove that it is gold. But what it has to do is, it has to continuously burn in fire so as to purify or get refined every time. So from 22 karat to 24 karat, it becomes only when it burns in the fire. Nobody asks it to prove its purity, but then it has to burn itself, and that is how it gets refined. And same thing happens with us also, and particularly in this exam. So when I started my preparation, and so I already knew that this is really the mother of all examination, and it is actually. So the university exams are very different from the civil service exam, and I can tell you, they are actually testing the person within you, what kind of person you are. And your writing, your speech is a reflection of the person within you. You cannot really fake it, believe me. So better you assess yourself right now and make yourself a better person that you are. And that is how it will get reflected in your answers, in your interview questions as well. So that is my message, and all the best for all the aspiring candidates.